Hi, welcome. This is the second part of the Blender 2.9 tutorial series. If you have not watched the previous one, go back and watch it as I go in depth to explain the basics of Blender and the interface. If you are new to my channel and you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Leave a comment, leave questions in the comment box as it will really add value to my channel and I will keep creating. Thank you. In this second part, we are going to look at modeling, explore the editing tools in the edit mode and see how you can transform geometries, and I will explain all of the tools that you need to model and go about Blender. The creation of a 3D scene needs at least 3 key components: the models, materials, and light. And by default, Blender provides these ones. In this tutorial, we will look at models. Modeling is simply the art and science of creating a surface that either mimics the shape of a real-world object or expresses your imagination of abstract objects. Like you see a cup, a bowl, cars that you want to model, or abstract, anything you can imagine, and you start modeling. Depending on the type of object you are trying to model, there are different types of modeling modes, like what we explained on the previous one. The vertex paint, the sculpt mode, we have the other texture painting. There are other different modes. Switching between modes while modeling is common. Some tools may be available in more than one mode, while others may be unique to a particular mode. But like I said, we are looking at modeling in this instance, so we will go to the edit mode, and in this tutorial we'll see how we will switch between the object mode and the editing mode. As in, editing mode is where all the fun starts. Edit mode is the main mode where modeling takes place. Edit mode is used to edit meshes, curves, surfaces, metabols, text objects, etc. You can only modify the mesh of the object you are editing. To modify other objects, you have to leave edit mode, select another object and enter edit mode, or use multi-object editing, which we will talk about it later. With meshes, everything is built from 3 basic structures: vertices, edges, and faces. These are the vertices, and these are the edges, and we have the faces. And switching between these most basic structures, you will find them here. We have the vertex mode. When you hover the mouse, it will tell you, and we have the edge select, and we have the faces. And with the vertex mode, the most elementary part of a mesh is the vertex, or plural is vertices, which is a single point or a position in 3D space. Vertices are represented in the 3D viewport in edit mode as small dots. These dots, the vertices of an object, are stored as an array of coordinates. There is a dot here, do not mistake it as a vertex. These are the vertices. And we have the edges. Like I said, you switch this is the edge mode. An edge always connects 2 vertices. So we have this vertex. When we go back to the vertex, we have vertex, and between them, this line is the edge. So an edge connects 2 vertices by straight line. The edges are the wires you see when you look at a mesh in wireframe view. When we go to wireframe, these are the edges. They are usually invisible on the rendered image. They are used to construct faces. And this brings us to faces. Let me leave the wireframe mode. This brings us to faces. Faces are used to build the actual surface of the object. They are what you see when you render the mesh. If this area does not contain a face, it will simply be transparent or non-existent in the render image. A face is defined by the area between either 3 triangles, 1, 2, either 3 triangles, 4 quadrangles, or more engons, vertices with an edge on every side. The faces are often abbreviated to tris, quads, and engons. Tris are 3-sided, a face with 3 vertices, and quads are 4 vertices, and we have engons which are more than 4 vertices, that's 5 and more. Triangles are always flat and therefore easy to calculate. On the other hand, quadrangles deform well and therefore preferred for animation and subdivision modeling. So in animation, using tris are not very healthy, but in importing models to game engines, you will use triangles, yes. In geometry, and we have normals. A normal is a direction or a line that is perpendicular to something Typically, a triangle or a surface can also be relative to a line. A tangent line for a point on a curve or a tangent plane for a point on a surface. So when I come to the overlays, I can turn on the normals. These are the normals. This is on the vertices. And when I turn the faces, you see these are normals on the faces. And let me turn it off for the meantime. So if you want to check your normals, you come to the overlays and you select whichever one you want to select, and you can see that the lines are in each perpendicular to the face on which they lie. The visualization can be edited, like I said, in the overlays, and you turn it, but I'll turn mine off. We don't need it now. We'll go much into it later. So let's look at topology. Loops. I'll enable my screencast keys. It's an add-on for Blender that lets you see the last thing I press. So when you look at the lower left of your computer, of your screen, you will see the last thing that I did, and you can follow along. So let me add another instance. If you want to add an object to a Blender scene, mind where the cursor is. This is where the thing will come. The primitive shapes. You press Shift A and you can add, but we are in edit mode, so you have to go to object mode and add the thing. So Shift A, and we will add, let's say I'll add a UV sphere, and you see it's overlapping because of the origin, the center where it came, where the cursor is. So I'll activate my move tool and move it from there so that we can work individually on it. I'll go into edit mode, press tab to go into edit mode, and let me explain the topology. So these are all faces and edges, and unlike the square that we had only 4 vertices, and these are many. We have loops. We have vertex loops and face loops. You hold Alt and you click on a line, it will select a loop around it. Likewise, you can select a different place and like this, and it will select another loop. We have continuous loop. This is a continuous loop because it doesn't end, and these loops end because there is a point that is breaking the loop, so you can't go around it. Loops can be a quick and powerful tool to work with specific continuous regions of a mesh and are a prerequisite for organic character animation. So now let's look at the primitives. The primitives are the shapes that Blender gives you by default that you can start modeling with. So I'll tap to go to the object mode and remove this object from the center origin so that when we bring another thing, it will not overlap. So to get the primitives, like I said, Shift A. I told you in the previous tutorial that Blender makes heavy use of keyboard shortcut, so follow me. Shift A, or otherwise you can come here the long way, add, and you still get the primitive shapes. We have plane, we have cube. I'll add plane. Let me put it somewhere. We have circle, so I'll use the keyboard shortcut Shift A. We have UV sphere, which is already there. We have icosphere. We have, it's a lot. We have cone. We have torus. This is torus. I'll move it from there. Let's see what we have again. Shift A. We have grid, which is just subdivided planes. If you tab into edit mode, you see that this is just subdivided planes, and if you this plane, it's not subdivided, so that's the difference. And we have Blender's favorite monkey. It's called Suzanne. I don't know why they call it Suzanne, but it's called Suzanne. This is the monkey. So these are the Blender primitive shapes, the shapes that they give you so that you can start modeling with. Depending on whatever you want to model, you know what you want to model, so you choose which one will best help you. So let's select each one and enter into edit mode and see how the topology looks like. We have the square, which already we looked, but let's check again. So this is a square which is having these faces. I told you in the previous tutorial that this is where the information is, the bottom right of the status bar. We have 4 out of 8 vertices. That's because we've selected one face. we have 6. So in all, if you select all of them, you see we have 12 edges, we have 6 faces and tries, 12 tries. Okay, so let's tap back into object mode and look at this icosphere. You see the topology of the icosphere is also different. It's triangles and shaped into a sphere-like something. And this is the sphere. We have the torus, and this is what the torus looks like, just like a car tie or a donut or whatever. And the monkey, you can check the topology of the monkey and the subdivided plane, and we have the normal plane, and we have the cone. So these are the primitive shapes. For the meantime, I will delete everything. And I told you in the previous tutorial that this is a camera. This is the camera and this is a light. So to select everything in Blender, you hit A to select everything. You see everything is highlighted. Select A. You press A on your keyboard. Select all. And if you want to delete something, you either press the delete key or X. You see it comes that confirm delete. You confirm everything will be gone, or Ctrl Z to bring them back if you want them back. But if you want to select everything in Blender, the shortcut is A, and if you want to deselect with Alt A, you will deselect everything. So I'll delete everything and we will start with something else. A to select or X to delete, and you confirm delete. So you see there's an information here that deleted 11 objects. So let's add the cube back. Shift A to bring the object menu, and let's bring the cube back. You see the cube here, and this is the last action. So you can increase the size here, and okay, let's change it. Let's delete the cube and bring back the UV sphere. So with the UV sphere, you see we have segments. Let me zoom in so that you can see it very well. Mind you, if you press anything, the last action will go. So X to delete, Shift A to bring it back, UV sphere, we get it back. We have 32 segments, we have 16 rings and the radius. So when you slide, you see it's adding another segment. If you can see, let me zoom in. If you reduce it, the segment will reduce and you are adding more. And we have the rings, that's the horizontal lines. You can increase them or reduce it. And we have the radius, that's the main size. So that is the last action. Let's delete this and bring a different thing. So Shift A to bring the menu, and let's select maybe a cylinder. Okay, so with the cylinder we have vertices, 32 vertices, which if you increase or decrease, you see what's happening. And we have the radius, we have the depth, and we have cap fill type. N-gon, like I said, is a surface with more than 4 sides, 4 vertices, like 5 and more. So if you choose a cap fill, that will be the lid. You can choose empty, nothing, and you see there's nothing there. You can choose N-gon, or you can choose triangle fan. Okay, let's use triangle fan for now, and I'll add another. This is the triangle fan, remember. I'm adding another cylinder, and we will use N-gon. So let's see the difference. If I tab into edit mode, you see this is just a flat face, and the vertices is more than 4, like I said. So you can count. Hold Alt to select this vertices, and you can select all the vertex ring around it. And how many do we count here? We have 29 vertices, which is more than 4, so it's an N-gon. And when you come to the one we chose, triangle fan, you see how that one behaves. It's filled with triangles. You can go to face select mode and see. It's just filled with triangles, which is pointing to one vertex. If you go to vertex mode, you see you can select one vertex and you can move it around. So these are the last actions. I said if you bring it and you forget to press any place, it will leave, and it's unfortunate you cannot do anything about it again. So you have to work on it before you choose your desired option, before you click anywhere on the 3D workspace. So to know more, you can experiment with all of them, like the cone, experiment with all the primitive shapes and see the options that you have. We have what depths, we have radius. If I bring it here, you see it's gone. Okay, so we won't do that. Let me X to delete this one and bring it back again. Mesh, cone. Okay, and it's remembered the last action that we did on this one. That's why the face is flat. So you can just increase the height, the radius, the top radius, that's the radius 2. You see, you can make it pointed and you can make it like a cylinder. We have the radius 1, that's the bottom, and we have the vertices, increase the number of vertices, and it also has fill type. You can choose nothing or n-gon or triangle fan. So experiment with the primitive shapes and see the options that you have. I don't think you have much on the monkey. No, you don't. You see, it's just the size. You don't have much on the monkey. So I'll delete everything and add a different shape. Shift A to open the add menu, and let's use cube for instance. Okay, so we have the cube. I can click anywhere I want to modify it. So we have the cube. In Blender, like I said, when you want to move object, you select the object and you get the gizmo keys, the gizmo arrows. That is, I took it from this place, the gizmos, and I chose the move so that I can move it around. You can equally choose rotate so that you can rotate it in the x-axis. Like I said in the previous tutorial, the orange or the red line is the x-axis and this is the y-axis, and the blue one is the z-axis. But I normally use the move tool, so I will disable that. And we have the scale. The scale tool, you can scale it to whatever angle. You just click and whatever angle you want to do. And like I always say, Blender make uses of shortcuts a lot. So mostly when you want to work fast, you use shortcut. And to grab something or to transform something, let me turn off the gizmos for now. To grab something, grab, the keyword here is grab. Start with letter G. It's a G. To grab something in Blender and move it around, it's G. G for goat. G for Godwin. So you press letter G and you see you can move it around. Let me resize it so that you can see the last thing I pressed here. Letter G on your keyboard and you can move it around. Otherwise, you can still use the move tools. But if you want to work fast, it depends on the instance that you are working. But this time I'm teaching you the shortcut, so flow with me. Letter G for grab. G. And you see we have the y-axis and the x-axis and the z-axis, which I've disabled mine. I showed you in the previous tutorial. I've disabled mine. I don't want mine. I normally use the x and the y. I know top is z, so I don't have to use it. So G, you press G for grab and you press Y. Remember, Y is the green line. So you will move only on the green line. G and Y. You see, it's constrained to the Y axis. And now you are moving on the Y axis. And watch here. Watch the top here as I move. G and Y. You see that it's showing you the direction in which you are going. Watch again. G and Y. You see it's along there. It reads D 12 point what along global Y axis. With the axis, we have the global, we have the local. Let me turn on the gizmos again. We have the global, which is the world origin. We have the local. We have the normal. You can hover your mouse on it and you see, align the transformation axis to average normal of the selected element. So it will only be on the axis of the selected object. But mostly use global and it depends on your case. So likewise, like I press G and Y, I can move on the Y axis. I'll disable it again in the gizmos menu. And let's grab on the X axis. Grab with me. G and X. You see it's constrained to the orange or red line. That is the X axis. Let's do it on the Z axis. G and Z. You see it's constrained. So those are the axes. if you are confused, watch here. Z is the blue line, it always goes up, and Y is this line, the green line, and we have the x-axis which is across the green line, and you can watch it here. Like I said in the previous tutorial, you can orbit around or pan around your scene with these gizmo handles. So the key take here is grab. To grab something and move it somewhere, we press G on your keyboard and the axis you want to move. So let's say I want to move on the x-axis. This is the x-axis. So you press G and X. You constrain it to the x-axis and you move. If you want to increase the size of an object, normally it is scale of an object or size depending on which country you are inside. So let's say size or scale, all start with the letter S. Size or scale. So you press S and you see it's resizing the shape. Letter S. And the same thing, like we press G and X or Y to constrain it on a particular axis. We can press S and constrain it on an x-axis alone. So let me demonstrate. S and X. So you see it's only scaling on the x-axis, or S and Y, and it's scaling on the y-axis alone. But if you want to scale it globally, it's S and it will scale all the sizes. We have S and Z and it will scale on the z-axis. Follow me. S and X on the x-axis. S for scale, Y on the y-axis. S, Z on the z-axis. That's the scale. And if scale is S and grab is G, what will be R? Rotate. I already said it. Jokes on me. So if you want to rotate an object, the shortcut is R. You press R and you see you can rotate it. And if you want to constrain it on the x-axis, just like the scale and the grab, R and X, and you see it will only rotate on the x-axis. R and Y, it will rotate on the y-axis. And R and Z will rotate on the z-axis alone. So whichever axis that you are working with, depending on the axis that you are working with, be it grab or scale or rotate, you can constrain it on the axis that you want. In Blender or in any 3D application, we have the origin. This red dot or orange dot that you see here is the origin. Let me zoom in. This is the origin of the object. And mind you, we were transforming it in the object mode, not the edit mode. I told you the edit mode is where you edit and model the geometries that you want. You see the toolbar, it changes when we go to the edit mode. This object mode is limited, so we enter edit mode. This is where you edit your object, and we have the modes, the vertex mode, we have the edge select mode, and we have the face select mode. And with this one, the shortcut, when you enter edit mode and you press 1 on your keyboard, 1 on the left side of the keyboard, where the keys are not the numpad, when you press 1, it will take you to edit mode, to vertex mode. You press 2, it will take you to edge mode. Follow here, and you press 3, it will take you to face select mode. So let's do it again. 1 for vertex select mode, 2 for edge select mode, and 3 for face select. If you want to select everything or more than one, you can select 2. So you see now 2 are highlighted, and I can equally select a face and an edge. Okay, so we are in edit mode. We can rotate and transform the object just like we were in the object mode. But at this point, the origin stays the same place. During the object mode, the origin, let me turn on the gizmos. During this mode, the origin moves with it. As you can see, the origin is following. But the moment you enter edit mode, tap to enter edit mode, and you press A, you can't select everything unless you press A to select all the faces or vertices or edges, and you try to move it. You will see that the origin point will remain there, meaning you've changed the origin point, and that is where if you are rotating, it will rotate along here, and you see the gizmos are still here. So let's say we are rotating on the x-axis, r, x, you see where it's rotating around the origin point. So you go back and you bring it back to wherever you want, or if you leave like this and you come to edit mode, you can right click for the object context menu. Here you right click on any object, just like a Windows application. You right click, you get the context menu, and you choose set origin. So we have right click again, set origin, geometry to origin to geometry, vice versa, origin to 3D cursor. This is the 3D cursor. So let's say we want to bring the origin to the geometry, so shade origin to geometry, it will jump back. Ctrl Z to bring it back. Let's try geometry to origin. The geometry came back to the origin. Ctrl Z. Let's try a different one. Origin to 3D cursor. So let's say origin to 3D cursor. You see the origin move to the 3D cursor. Let's bring it back to the geometry. Origin to geometry. And now you can reposition it at the center. In the edit mode, likewise, you can press Shift A to add different objects, like the plane, just like the primitive object, but this time it will be part of the object in the, let me press S to scale it. It will share a common origin with the already mesh that was inside. If you tap into object mode, you see, if you select, it will select everything, and it is sharing a common origin. So mind you, if you are adding an object, always add it in the object mode, Shift A, and you add it in the object mode, so that it will have its own origin. But if you enter edit mode of an object and you press Shift A to add a primitive object like a cylinder, like this cylinder will share the same geometry with the square. You see, if I select this and select this, it selects all the two, and if I grab, everything will go. So mind you on that. Okay, so I press X to delete the cylinder. And when you're in edit mode, the menus are different. When you select a face and you right click, you get a context menu. We will look in that later. But as we work, you will understand some things. So if you want to select everything here, you can either hold your shift key and be pressing to select everything, or likewise you can press A to select everything here, so that you can move it or transform it. But remember, you will leave the origin point there, or you can transform just one place. So when I select this particular face and I move, you see I'm increasing that particular face. We are in edit mode. We have tools for working, and we will heavily rely on shortcuts as it is fast, and I will explain everything one by one so that you understand. Whatever you don't understand, post it in the comment box and I will reply. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe so that you don't miss an upload, and share among your friends who would like to learn 3D modeling, especially Blender, to create cool and fun stuff. Okay, so back in the edit mode, this is a square that we've selected, and these are the faces. Like I said, you can switch between vertex mode, and these are the vertices, and we have the edge select mode. So you can transform individual points. If I select an edge here and I move, you see I'm destroying the original shape of the object, and we have something like I don't know, whatever it is, maybe a cabin or a cargo cabin, whatever it is. And likewise, if you hold here and you move, you are transforming it. So now this is what we have. And any objects that you use, all the objects that you see, they all use shapes. And Blender has done well to provide you with these basic shapes that you can start modeling with. Okay, so let's go back into the edit mode and Ctrl Z to bring it back. We have menus with respect to faces and vertices and edges. When you look up here, you will see we have vertex menu, we have extrude vertices, bevel vertices. We will go into all of that as we go forward. You will learn everything. We have edge context menu. Or you can press Ctrl E for the edges. Ctrl E, you see you get the same menu. Watch here, the edge, extrude, bevel, what. Ctrl E, you get the same menu. Or Ctrl F for faces, extrude faces, and that's the faces menu. And we have the vertex menu, that's Ctrl V. So when you hover your mouse on it, you see the shortcuts come, Ctrl V, Ctrl E, and Ctrl F, like I said. And if you want to add something, you come to add or Shift A to add a primitive. And these are the menu for transforming the object and editing the object. You have the transform, that's the move, in which the shortcut key is G, grab, rotate, S. Yes, you have duplicate. So if you want to duplicate an object in Blender, let me leave the edit mode in here. If you want to duplicate an object, it's Shift D to duplicate an object. The same thing you can constrain to a particular axis. Let's say Y, and you constrain it to a Y axis. Shift D, let's say X, that is duplication of an object. Or when you come to the object, you see we have duplicate object. Shift D, and it's the same thing. And we have duplicate length. Alt D. If you scale this, if you transform this, it will also transform this one because it's sharing the same length. You see, if I select this and I move, it's sharing the same length. That is Alt D, but mostly Shift D is what you use to duplicate an object, except you want a property or an object to share the same properties. So Shift D to duplicate an object, and you can press X, Y, or Z to constrain it on a particular axis. So let's go back to the edit mode. Okay, so these tools, if you hover your mouse, we have the select. Select is what we are doing now. You right click and you select a particular thing. We have the cursor, which is the origin, wherever you want to place it. So if you select the cursor, and you can place it anywhere you want, but whenever you want to bring something, this is where it will appear, wherever the cursor is. So let me put the cursor here and bring Shift A and add a circle. So the circle came here. Or let's say Shift A to bring a cylinder which is very big. And let me resize the radius. You see the cylinder came to where the 3D cursor is. And if you want to go back, we press the select key. We have the move tool, the ones we've been doing. We can move objects, and we have the rotate and scale and all of that. We are using shortcuts, so we won't come here. But if you forget and you want to go back, you want to know it, you can come here to the left side, and T toggles it on and off. Maybe if you need a bigger workspace to work and it is in your way, just press T and it will just toggle it. Or you see the arrow here, you click the arrow, it will bring you back. You can also hover your mouse here and resize it to however you want, but I like mine, just put it at the corner, yes, and you can resize it, but I like mine like this, so I'll keep it down. So as we keep exploring, we have add cube, we have extrude regions. If extrude means put from a face is a better example, and we press extrude region, you see we can extrude, and we have another face here, we can extrude, you see. But we won't use this type of extrude. We will use the keyboard shortcut, which when we hover our mouse, it will tell you E. So let's say if I select this place, I select this face and I hit E, you can now extrude. So we won't come here. We have insert faces. Insert faces, which the shortcut is I. You press here and you press I. You see that it's inserting. So let's say you can insert a face here and extrude, which remember, but there's a last action that came here. I've not clicked anywhere, that's why it's still there. When I clicked, it went. So let me Ctrl Z and do it again. So let's insert I. But we won't be using this. We will rely heavy on the keyboard shortcut so that we'll be fast in our work. So we have boundaries, we have offset even, you see the changes, we have offset relative, we have edge rail. So you can experiment, and this is the thickness. The mouse pointer is in the way there. Let me turn it. Let me offset that. So you see we have the thickness, we have the depth as inside or outside. Have the depth. So that is the shortcut is I. That is insert faces for you. But we will use this place. We have the bevel. So when you select a bevel, when you select a particular place and hit bevel, this is a better example. Let's select. Use an edge. Mostly you bevel an edge. So this place and you hit. You see you are beveling the place. And this is the last action menu. You can bevel vertices, you can bevel the edges, and you can increase the width. You can add more segments to make it curvy. Let me zoom in so that you see it very well. You can add more segments so that you can curve it, but adding more vertices will put heavy weight on your computer, so be careful there. And we have the weights, I said it already. We have the shape. You can just like this, you can insert it inside or make it curvy like this. Have material index, and you can experiment with this. And the keyboard shortcut, like I said, we always use keyboard shortcut, is Control B. So let's say I want to bevel this place. Select this this edge, select this edge, and select this edge. Let me go to the select menu so that the bevel option will leave, and press Control B. You see it remember the last action, and it's the same thing. You can reduce the segment, and let's use a better place, a different place. Select, Shift select all these lines and Control B. Okay, so it remembered the last action. And the segment, you can increase it, you can increase the radius, you can, the shape which is messing right now, you can inward or outward, however you want it. So that's the bevel for you. So you will rely heavy on the shortcut keys. But if you are lost, you will come here. You can come here and pick them. We have what else? We have the loop cut. The loop cut is when you want to add another cut. Let me go back to object mode and pick a different object like this square, and enter, tab into edit mode and shift middle mouse to pan around. So we have the loop cut. So loop cut is, the shortcut is Control R. So when you press Control R, you will add another. You see we have Control Z to demonstrate. We have only one face here and just four vertices or four edges. But when you press Control R and we add another, we have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And we have two faces here. So that's loop cut. You can increase. When you press the loop cut and you scroll the middle mouse, you can add more segments. You see how many segments we have now. You can try it on this place. You Control R and you add more segments. So now we have many faces. 1, 2, 3, 4, many faces here, and the same thing here. So that's the loop cut. And we have the knife key. The knife key is also, the knife tool is a knife tool, no key. Forgive me. Shortcut is K. You can check down there. Shortcut is K. Okay, so let's use a different object. This one. Now, when we activate K, let's delete this object. It's in our way. Delete versus. Like I said, X is for deleting, but in the edit mode, when you press an object and you press X, it will show you delete vertices, delete edges, delete faces, only face and edges. We have dissolvers, dissolve edges, dissolve faces, or limited dissolve, or collapse edges and or edge loops. So you understand as we go forward. So we are on the knife tool, and remember I said K is the shortcut. So you press K and it activates the knife key. K for knife. K for knife here. So you press the left mouse button, you activate, you press again and you hit enter. You see it's added another face, another edge to the place. That's the knife tool. And when I activate it again, K for the knife tool, and when you check here, you see there are new menus. There's a lot of menus on how to use the knife key. We have the escape, that's the cancel. We have the left mouse button to start a cut and disable the cut. We have close cut. We have E for new cut. So like cut here. When we press enter, we will leave the knife tool, but let's do it again. Cut here and we press E. We still have the knife tool and this is still activated, so you can add another cut and maybe press enter and activate the cut. So that's the knife tool and the shortcut is K. So I'll be using the shortcuts. For now, these are what we will need to model. And in Blender, if you want to select something, you can just left mouse button and drag and you will select everything, just like in the object mode tool. You just left mouse button and let me bring back my shortcut, my screencast keys here. So let me bring it so that you can see. So you just press and drag so that you can select whatever you want. And we have the C select. Let's go back to edit mode. So we have this select, that is just pressing the face, this particular one. And we have the select circle, that is the letter C. So when I press C, it will activate the circle, and if you scroll the middle mouse button, you see you can increase the size and you can select with them too. So it's just very fast. Experiment with it and get comfortable with it. You left right mouse button to leave the case, otherwise you can't leave. Press C or increase the middle mouse button so that you can increase the size and just select. You see, you can select with it. And the B select, which also works just like this type of select, is to activate the border and it's the same thing. That's the border select. So yeah, that is how to select tools. And about the deletion of an object, you press here and you press X. You see, delete vertices. Okay, so let's go into vertex mode and understand really well. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 vertices here. So when you choose delete vertices, remember this vertex also join these parts. So it's likely we will lose all these parts because these are also connected to the vertex. So let's press X, delete. You see, we deleted everything here. Ctrl plus Z. You see, all these parts are connected. So when you press delete vertex, you will lose all these parts. Ctrl Z. Or when you go to face mode and you press X to delete a face, you delete only that face because only that face was selected. Ctrl plus Z. We can delete only faces and it's the same thing. Ctrl Z. We have edges. When you select edges too, you see these edges were connected with these ones, so it will remove everything around it. Ctrl plus Z. This edge is connected, this edge is connected, this edge is connected, and this edge is connected. So it will remove everything here. So let's do it again. X, edges, and everything will be removed. So depending on your situation, if you want a face, just delete a face. If you want to delete a vertex, and know that this vertex, this is okay. Let's use this one. This vertex, this one connect to it, this one connect, this one go. So you lose everything here. And you see everything is gone because they were all interconnected. That is the deletion for you, the delete key. X for delete or delete on the keyboard. Let's do this exercise and let me explain how real world objects are just shapes. Okay, so we have a chair. You see how a chair is just rectangle and another square or rectangle, and this place is curved in a little, which is like it is beveled. We have rectangle. Let's move to another object. This bottle is just a cylinder curved inside, and this is also a cylinder. So it's just a cylinder and just tapered bottom and tapered neck, and the lid is also a cylinder. Let's try another one. This bottle, this beer bottle, is just a cylinder, and this mouth are just extruded and skilled and inside and outside. Let's try another one. We have a bowl. A bowl too is just a cylinder. So these are real life shapes. It's just shapes. We have a cup, just a cylinder, the same cylinder. We have a table, rectangles and squares and just four-sided objects. We have what again? We have tables. You see, these are just rectangles. These are real life objects. We have a table, rectangles and squares. We have a table again, and this time the top is just circle and the legs are just rectangle. A bowl, we have cylinder that has been skilled on the top. We have a bottle, we have bowls. So in objects around you can look around, they are just made of shapes. Anything around you is just made of shapes. Your bed, your chairs, see, the chair is nice, but it's just shapes, rectangular shapes. So I think my images are finished. So our next exercise, we will be modeling these objects with the primitive shapes that we've learned and the skills. So experiment. Today we recapping what we did today. We looked at the tools here, the selection of the tools, how to delete an object, that is X to delete an object. We switch between object mode and edit mode, and we learned about the tools in the edit mode, and we know T toggles it on and off the tools. Maybe it's in your way, and the side panel, which we didn't go there. When you press N, it will leave and it will come back just like that. So in the next session, we are going to model all these shapes around us so that we can get comfortable and see the things around us and we can model, and that will be our exercise. I will leave description of HBT Digital Blender 3D group on Facebook. You can share your submissions, assignments and questions there, and you can leave the questions in the comment box, and you can share your works on the HBT Digital group on Facebook. I'll leave the description in the comments below, but it's HBT Digital Blender 3D on Facebook. HBT Digital Blender 3D. Just join the group and post everything that you learn or whatever you make there, and let's help each other. Remember, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. It really means a lot to me. Please subscribe and leave a comment in the comment box, and if you really enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Just like the video for me, as YouTube wants that and it will add more value to my channel so that I can keep creating. Thank you.